So being married to an entrepreneur can be hard. Just ask this woman on this side over here. Hey guys, seriously, whether you are doing this solo and your significant other is just along for the ride, or if they're legitimately like how Teresa and I, where we both are a part of the business, it can be very, very difficult when we're fluctuating between personal life and business, finances, all those kind of things that are like popping up, which is why we wanted to make today's video. I was actually doing some research. I was doing some research on this website called srtflaw.com. By the way, don't go there. I think they're like for divorce attorneys and stuff like that. But I want to share this statistic because it's really powerful and you need to know this. He said the divorce rate is higher for business owners than in the general public. In fact, studies have shown that divorce rates among entrepreneurs range between 43 and 48%. It's even higher among dual entrepreneurial marriages, as both are intensely focused on managing their respective business. He says there's many reasons for this higher rate of divorce. Owning a business is stressful, takes a lot of your time. This can lead to neglect of spouses and children, often snowballing until the business consumes every waking moment and pulls away from other core areas. Owning a business is also financially taxing, with many owners dipping into their personal savings and to fund the operations when times are tough. Additionally, divergent goals between spouses can contribute to also higher divorce rates. So let's get ahead of this today. We don't have to go through any of this madness, any of this nonsense. We can take full charge not only of our business, but also our personal life, also our marriage, and we're going to teach you how to do that today. So guys, welcome to Modern Leadership, where we see things differently. We help entrepreneurs become modern leaders so they can make a huge impact in the world without having to sacrifice their family time or burn themselves out. There's a reason why we say that, and it's because we, especially me, was down heading in that path, in that direction. So I'm talking to you today from this place of experience, which I don't want you to have to go down. But we have 6 very key things that we want to make sure that you lean into. These 6 things have helped us the most, not only have a marriage and business, but also help us create a business that actually makes our marriage like even better. All right. And I promise you, this is all true. I did pay Teresa under the table to smile and pretend like it was true. I'm just kidding. But we're going to jump right in. Teresa, by the way, how you doing?
I'm great. I thought I was going to start. I was so excited.
You were going to start. You were going to start. And I literally just got off a coaching call, so I had to jump right in. Okay. You ready to jump in? So we have a soccer game immediately after this. So we're going to cut this one really, really short, but it's going to be super powerful for you guys. All right. So the first step is identifying roles and boundaries. Okay. Here's why this is an incredibly important first step when it comes to like managing and balancing your business and your personal life. And that is like, who is responsible for what? Who is going to be taking charge of certain areas? Like this even counts like when it comes to like scheduling, right? Because here's the thing, like defining your roles and what you can expect of me to do in business and what I can expect of her, and also defining what at home, what stuff do I do? What stuff at home does she do? Will help us to make sure that we know what each other is doing and also be able to help like in those key areas when they need our help, right? But this is also important when it comes to setting boundaries, right? Boundaries in terms of like when you're going to work, when you're not going to work, when you're going to talk business, when you're not going to talk business. Teresa's probably going to talk about that a little bit later. But it's like setting boundaries of like, even where in the house are you going to work? Where is your workstation? And when you're in this workstation, it's like time for work. And what time is it like time for family and time for, intimate time with your spouse or time for, going on a walk, whatever that is, like really being very specific around the boundaries for each other. And not just the boundaries, but also the roles that you're going to be playing, right? When it comes to even your business, like who's going to be like the visionary, the person who's painting the picture of where it's going to go, who's going to be what they term as the integrator, which is the person who steps in and takes some of those actions, right? If your spouse is not in your business, like what are some things that you as the business owner are going to do in your personal life when it comes to your marriage and with kids and all that kind of stuff, so that you can also help define what those roles are, what you're going to be doing at home, rather than just thinking that it's just she's doing that or he's doing that and I'm doing just the business, right? Figuring out like, how do you guys play between these roles and between these boundaries to make sure that you're very clear. You're going to hear a lot about like communication. Actually, that's going to be like my third tip, but communication is key. Setting up like who's going to be what, where you need people, like where you need help the most, where they need help the most. If you don't if you don't meet each other halfway like that, it's going to be very easy for them to feel like the business is getting in the way of their personal life and vice versa. All right. So the best way is to start by setting boundaries, making sure that you paint a picture of what each other's roles they're going to be, and the more clear that you can be, and as you go, they might shift, the better it's going to be for both of you. All right. So that's rule number 1.
All right. And rule number 2 has to do with time management. So it's important to really schedule with your spouse and be on the same page, and having both of you be part of that planning process, because there is going to be this conflict between, like, how much time does one have for every area of life, right? So like Mark was saying, like couples time and family time and business time. So you have to be on the same page when it comes to your time management. And I think that, like, the really important thing is that, yes, it is hard it's hard. Marriage is hard to begin with, but bringing in a business is just another level of complexity, right? So you have to get really good at time management, and being on the same page when it comes to that is key. So, using tools together to help make each other's lives easier is going to make life easier, and it's going to be better. And the journey is going to be much more enjoyable if you have this kind of under control.
I love that. I love it. I mean, what people don't get an opportunity to see, like, to the level that we schedule stuff. And sometimes Teresa can get a little bit on me about to the level of how I schedule things. But when it comes to like our day-to-day activities, we're scheduling things for business, but we're also scheduling things for our personal life. We're literally scheduling when our puppy is going into the kennel. We're scheduling like who's going to be watching the puppy. And we have that level of like, sometimes it's my OCD that's kicking in, because when you have a time in your schedule and everything is in alignment, you know where people are going to be, you know whose responsibility it's going to be. And it's not just like hey, she'll just take over and figure out a way, right? No, I want to communicate, which is going to be my next thing, is be able to communicate with her. So that way I know what she's doing and what I'm doing and how we can like literally benefit together as a team. So number 3 is communication strategies, is learning how to connect, not only to have the lines of communication in business open, but also the lines of personal life be open. One of the things I'm terrible at is like making sure that I don't talk business all the time. We'll be like chilling, watching some TV or whatever, and then I'll see something on there and my entrepreneurial mind will kick in and I'll be like, hey, Teresa, what do you think about this? What do you think about doing this and this? And she's like, it's not really time for me to put on my business hat right now. Let's just watch the TV. And so making sure that by her saying that, it helps me to realize that when the certain time comes during the day, that is the time for me to no longer be talking about business and to be talking about more related to like our relationships or what we're going to do or when's the next time we're going to be able to spend time together or just asking each other really, really deep questions. Now, some of you guys do know that I have like a list of questions that I typically will ask not only Teresa, but also my kids to really get deep into like getting to know them a little bit better. And I spend just as much energy as I would in my business in like, trying to get more creative about asking my kids questions, doing things that they want to do, not what I want to do. And the same with Teresa, right? Now, when it comes to communication, it's also important for you to be open to acknowledging and appreciating each other. And this can include, yes, stuff in the business, like when Teresa jumps in and she rocks Canva for me. Like I'm so appreciative because it would have taken me 3 hours to make it look really nasty. And she like takes 30 minutes and then it's this beautiful masterpiece. Acknowledging and appreciating her there. And then also acknowledging and appreciating her for the things that she's doing in our personal life. Like even just like taking my son to school all the time. Like how many of you guys have relationships where you haven't thanked that other person because it's just a commonality now. They just always do that thing. And what is it like when you just not acknowledge and appreciate them? Like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I know it takes extra time. You have to get ready early. You have to do all this kind of stuff. Like, I appreciate you for going and taking him to school consistently. And by doing that, it opens the lines of communication, but it also gets them to see that you're watching. You're seeing the things that they're doing. And by leaning into this level of communication, you have the open lines for your business, but also the open lines for your personal life. And that, my friends, is number 3. You're up.
Am I? I thought you were next.
And I'm up. Let's go. Number 4 is conflict resolution. Conflict resolution. Here's the thing. As a significant other, you kind of know each other's buttons, okay? Now, take the fact that if you're working together in business, it's even worse, is you could sometimes use and press those buttons at the most inopportune time. Because we have like this level of connection with our spouse, we have to be very cognizant of like those buttons, those triggers that we know if we go down that path, we probably shouldn't have said it and we probably shouldn't have gone down that path. And when you're in the business realm, which is, I don't know, it's just like a different level of energy when you're doing those things. You have to remember not to press those triggers, not to press those buttons, because then you're going to go through some conflicts. Now, that being said, you're going to go through some conflicts. There's going to be things that come up. And that's where that communication kind of like comes into play, right? Now, whenever I think about, and this is something that we teach inside not only of our life coach certification, but inside of a couple different programs that we talk about when it comes to marketing, is talking in terms of what the other person wants, right? So when it comes to conflict resolution, the thing that my brain always goes to is, what is it that Teresa really wants? What is it that Andrew really wants? What is it that Rocket really wants? And when I can focus my brain power not on the conflict or me being upset or frustrated and asking myself like, okay, what do they really want in this situation? And then how can I bridge the gap to make it so that this is like something that we can solve really easily? As a matter of fact, the reason we had this actually made us even stronger together. So if like there's something where it's like I'm working too much, for example, and Teresa's like, bro, you're working too much. Am I ever going to get a chance to see you? The old Mark would have got upset and frustrated and been like, I'm trying to make a living here. I'm trying to do all these kind of things. But when I detach myself from it and I think about like, what does she really want? She wants to spend more time with her husband. I'm like, first off, I love that. I love that that's the case. As a matter of fact, like I need to take this as evidence of like, hey, you know what? This is going to give me a better opportunity to spend more time with my wife rather than going down the path of being upset or frustrated or thinking that it should be different, right? So thinking about that in terms of like, what does the other person want will help lift you out of the conflict a lot faster, because like they say, you can be right. What do they say? That you could be right, or you could like actually have that connection, right? Because nobody likes to be proven wrong, but also like in the whole conflict thing, it just makes it so that it's fist against fist, and we don't want to do that. All right. Now there is something that we were reading about, or I was reading about. It's called the cool off corner. And that is like maybe sometimes in the moment, if there's a conflict going on, maybe you can't have that communication and connection and conversation. That's not me. I typically will talk to Teresa, but Teresa sometimes just, she's like, if back in the day, by the way, she was like, I don't want to have that conversation. Then giving that person an opportunity to like actually think about it for a minute before you come back and have that conversation is an important piece. All right. Don't feel like just because you want to be able to have that conversation, you want to solve that conflict right now, that's what they need to do. You don't. Like, you can meet them where they need to be met and then really solve the conflict that way rather than trying to force it through. Okay. I think I put a lot of words in your mouth today.
No. I think that's probably one of the most important things to talk about is conflict resolution, because we know it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of time, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the next one, oh, go ahead. Sorry. Did I cut you off?
It's you.
All right. Okay, so the next one is balancing finances. So here's just, some few tips on how to do that. But the first thing is just to identify who is going to be the main person in charge of the finances and like keeping track of the money coming in and the money going out. Obviously, both of you need to have communication regarding finances, and you need to like set up some time to like go over that. Maybe it's at the end of the month so that you can have a budget for the following month and know, how much money do we think is going to be coming in, because as entrepreneurs, it's not always the same, right? So we have to kind of communicate and then just identify the person who's going to be the main person in charge to kind of keep track of things, right? And then to actually, raise your hand and be like, hey, you know what? Something's happening here. There's a lot of money going out, not a lot coming in. Let's have a chat about it, right? Because this is another thing that can come up that can be a form of conflict where, like if there's no communication here, nobody's really in charge of this, then, we can get into problems, right? So we also have to kind of set up, because we're kind of integrating other areas of our lives, we need to set up a family versus a business budget. right? So there's a lot of tools out there that we use, but there's many different things that you can use that will help you really kind of take control of that and set up budgets and set up just a way to keep track of your income, keep track of the way that you're spending money and things like that. So that way, like, you have your pulse on your business on a consistent basis rather than waiting a really long time and then being in the hole and just struggling, right? I thought you were going to say something. So
I always say something, but not that time. It's still your turn.
Okay. Well, that's all I have to share about that. But is there anything you want to share?
No.
Okay. All right. So the next one is self-care and emotional well-being. So this is true for solopreneurs, and it's also true for, marriages that run their businesses together. It's really important to maintain emotional well-being. It's important to take care of yourself, because when you take care of yourself, you can, equip yourself with, a better mindset, better clarity, and just energy to be able to, run your business and really, pour into your relationships, right? So it's important to take breaks and take vacations, holidays. The business is not as important as your well-being and your relationships. So make sure that you're always taking time for yourself and for your family. You plug it into the business, and it's an important part of it. It's an important part to take time away from the business, so that way you can come back refreshed. So also, this is true for just if we're just talking about marriage, or we're talking about marriage and business. It's about individual and shared hobbies to really kind of strike that balance. So have something that you can, go to when you want to get away from the business, whether it's together as a couple or as individuals. You want to go out and do something. It's just about really finding that balance for yourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I'm not going to say like it should be both because I know there's some people that maybe don't want to go out and do stuff on their own. But I actually challenge Teresa a lot to go do stuff on her own and to do things that help her recharge and recover. So yes, it's important that we take care of our own self-care, but it's also important that we take care of our spouse's self-care, okay? Because it's very easy for us to maybe not see that the person is like forcing things, right? They're not taking any time because they think if they take time or they go out and do something for themselves and then they spend money on it or whatever, like it's very easy for them to convince themselves not to do that. But it also like causes them to burn out. It causes them to get frustrated, right? So anytime that I can, I try and remind her like, hey, go out and do X, Y, and Z, or, grab that coloring book, or I'm just there to always offer like something that she could do, because I know a lot of times she'll try and force herself not to do that. But if I offer it to her, even though it's not even my space to even offer it to you, but I want to remind her. And by doing that, I don't know if it's like, maybe you can talk about this. I don't know if it's because I said it that you're like, you feel like, oh, okay, then I should go ahead and do this. But she's more likely to do that. And when she does, like, she's taking care of herself, because I noticed that, and then maybe this is just the mom thing, always putting yourself last. But when you're in a marriage, when you show the person that you really care for them, and you look at some of the hobbies and things they do, find ways for them to recharge, find ways for them to go out and just feel better or do whatever it is that they wanted to do. It doesn't always have to be together. It can be, and I really feel like it should be, where you do take a little bit of time. Because like they say, like if you're with somebody all the time, sometimes it's like, it's not as awesome as it could be if you take those little bit of like separated breaks from each other, which is kind of like how I'm feeling from the puppy right now. Or when you do have those breaks, you kind of like miss it even more. Does that make sense? So,
Yeah.
so yes, that's something that I definitely highly suggest. Make sure you keep an eye on your spouse's health as well as yours. Anything else on that?
No, I think you said it perfectly.
Okay, guys. I know we started a little bit early today, and I know that you might get to this point, and you might wonder how to create. Actually, I want to talk to you real quick about how to create a psychologically safe environment. So here's what I mean. Sometimes when you're having conversations, if you don't have this kind of environment where people feel safe to have this communication, like the communication that we talked about here today, sometimes they'll keep secrets or things that you need to know from you. This can happen in your marriage. It can definitely happen with your kids. And how we can overcome that is learning how to create this environment that's called psychological safety, which means people feel comfortable bringing us things, knowing that we're not going to get frustrated or, react to them. And instead lean into creating this kind of environment where people feel comfortable to actually share it with us. That is one thing you definitely need to understand. And it's also why we put a video together, which is talking about why they keep secrets, how to literally create an environment of safety that people feel comfortable sharing those things with you. We will leave that for you at the end of this video. We also leave it inside of the description. We appreciate you guys so much. We know a lot of people couldn't make it today because of our different changing. We will go back, our time change today. We will go back to our normal time next week. We just have to go out and crush our Bubble Guppies soccer game right now. But we appreciate you so much. Thank you for what you do out there every single day, everybody. And keep leading from the front. We'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.